She sat on the precipice, little fingers clutching the edge of the stone wall, curious eyes fixed on the river flowing meters below. I noticed her pull herself up there, so I came over to sit beside her, my body relaxed, but ready. She looked at me and smiled, and then heard the gentle cry from her mother sitting at the cafe as she quickly came over, pulling her daughter safely back from the edge. I asked what she usually did when her daughter decided to climb a wall such as this. She replied that she does not do so. She thanked me for my attention, bringing her daughter safely back within reach. I completely understood the mother's position. Whilst not very high from street level, on the other side of the wall was a fairly substantial drop. Though despite the risk, her daughter's curiosity had been awakened. I gave pause as I reflected. My own instinct as a father in that scenario would have been different. It would have been to hold my child's hand, allowing them to explore the boundary between comfort and fear, leaning into the edge of oneself, as I've done with my son on a near daily basis. Something had been stirred within me. I knew this young girl well, only a year older than my son. I knew too that her father was not so present in her life, nor was he worthy of being so. And I felt sad. Sad for this child who would grow up never truly knowing her father in the kind of way my son knows me. But also sad for the father who is unable or incapable of experiencing the unbounded love of knowing one's child. There are far too many children growing up in the world without a present father in their lives. And even when a man might be physically there, far too often he is unable to offer the stable, secure presence his child needs. In large part, this can perhaps be attributed to his own insecurities and intergenerational familial patterns that have been handed to him. But perhaps there is also an element of dad being left out of the parenting discussion. For decades, parenting literature has primarily focused on the mother-child relationship. Mothers are positioned as the central figures of emotional security, and fathers are left as peripheral figures in this essential developmental narrative. Attachment theory and how it relates to parenting is no different. Now, attachment and attachment styles have become quite the buzzwords recently, though these terms are often misrepresented in social media pop culture. As someone who has dived deeply into somatic education and depth psychology, I've become quite familiar with attachment theory and how it might apply to an adult's way of behaving in the present as a result of the necessary coping in the past. And then how this shows up in the way we parent has been profoundly useful in helping me understand and structure my own parenting style. However, like with the bulk of parenting literature, attachment parenting remains stubbornly mother-centric. That's not to say that fathers are not mentioned. It's just that the perspective and recommendations are generally in support of a feminine way of parenting. The initial focus on mother-child bonds in attachment theory emerged from post-war research when fathers were less involved in daily childcare, leading to decades of literature that may have inadvertently marginalized paternal contributions. Now, to be clear, this is not a critique of mothering, nor attachment-style parenting as it currently exists, as I believe these contribute to an essential conversation and foundation for the development of our children. I just don't believe we've taken this concept far enough. As Dr. Becky of Good Inside, whom I highly recommend for any parent, puts forth, your job as a parent is to set boundaries, validate your child's feelings, and empathize. Your child's job is to explore and express their feelings. Modern-day parenting has come a long way towards emphasizing the importance of feelings, and with good reason, as this aspect of parenting has not traditionally been up to standard. But in some ways, we've taken this too far. Increasingly, we are seeing children who are overprotected, wrapped in cotton wool to prevent the slightest discomfort, and unable to put themselves against the world, neither able to do or endure hard things. In emphasizing the importance of feelings, we've neglected to consider the other side of our children's fundamental roles, to explore. What I see missing from the parenting conversation is how to provide and sustain secure attachment whilst a child explores the world. Enter dad. Again, to make absolutely clear, I see that a father's role is equally in the realm of emotions, to see, receive, empathize, and validate with their children. This has been a big area of focus for me personally and professionally over many years in my work with men, and a subject I intend to explore in great depth. The specific purpose of this essay, however, is to speak to what has been largely left unspoken, the other side of attachment, exploration, activation, discipline, challenge. In doing so, my hope is to offer an expansion of how we commonly perceive and approach modern parenting. One that not only incorporates a masculine way of parenting, but also gives fathers a practical way of deepening with their engagement within it. To understand how fathers might uniquely contribute to attachment security, we must first clarify the complementary roles mothers and fathers typically play in child development. I would like to draw some very important distinctions in the way that I see things. A mother and a father have different biological and psychological drives that inform parenting. A mother and a father both have different essential roles in their child's development. A mother and a father each offer their child a different kind of secure attachment. This difference, or polarity, is actually built into our relationships and is actually at the root of our intimate attraction in the first place. The following might offer you deeper insight into my perspective. Rather than strictly associating particular traits to either male or female, I found it useful to consider qualities that may themselves be categorized as either masculine or feminine. We each possess certain qualities that might be associated as masculine and qualities that might be associated as feminine. Regardless of our gender, at any moment we may be experiencing and expressing more with our masculine or more with our feminine aspect. The way this polarity shows up in parenting is that the feminine represents nurturance, receptivity, and containment, while the masculine represents challenge, direction, activation. These qualities are not necessarily tied up to mother or father, respectively, but it is certainly the case that, on the whole, mothers tend to be more feminine more often, and fathers tend to be more masculine more often in the way that they parent. So whilst acknowledging our own baseline tendencies, it would be most adaptive for a parent to have access to the entire range of qualities, to embody them as appropriate to the context, and to best meet the needs of their children. A balance of these qualities represented both within the individual parent, but also within the household dynamic ensures a child is wholly attended to. This can sometimes be a little challenging to understand, so let's ground this in a concrete example. If your child was learning how to climb at the playground, a more encouraging, challenging, and directive way of parenting would invite them to explore further. But if your child then hurts themselves, a more nurturing, caring, and soothing way of attending to them would be necessary. You can see how if we were to provide the opposite kind of approach than what was needed, the child would never trust themselves to climb higher, or would learn that feeling sad and hurt is not appropriate. Rafe Kelly of Evolve Move Play provides a useful observation that complements this perspective. Children themselves tend to self-select for which parent they expect to play each role in any given moment. Again, using the above scenario to illustrate this point, if both parents were present, a child who wants to play will more likely take their father's hands expectantly, while they'll more likely seek the soothing of their mother when they fall. And of course, if only one parent is present, it is certainly possible, desirable, and necessary to be able to take on both roles as required by the child. What is most important is a sense of integration, a dynamic equilibrium, whether within the individual or within the family unit, where all of the child's needs might be met such that they feel secure wherever they go and whatever they do within the world. Holding this perspective allows us to not only see where our own tendencies and blind spots lay, but also bring awareness to how we might best adapt to the needs of circumstance as it arises. It also shines a light on where attachment theory falls short. If we only emphasize mother-centric attachment parenting, where containment and emotional security is singularly promoted without its balancing counterpart of activation and explorational security, we risk constraining our children. And we are missing out on a substantial element of our child's development, one where we might leverage our fathers to step up and into playing a catalytic role. A father has a unique capacity to be a secure attachment for his child while they explore the world, though this rests upon his own ability to remain present, stable, and secure within himself, to regulate himself in the face of adversity, challenge, and frustration through his own embodiment. Allow me to explain. As any parent would have experienced, when we step out of the comfort of our homes with our young children, we're confronted with the unknown. We cannot control how our children will behave, what they will say, and what they will do. And we cannot control how the world will meet them. For many, this can bring up a whole lot of anxiety. The unknown is risky. There is the possibility of great potential and the possibility of great suffering. And this uncertainty of outcome results in many selecting safety over risk. Though if we desire our children the freedom to engage fully within the world, meeting our own anxieties becomes essential. I see there are two primary ways that we can learn to regulate ourselves: through action and through acceptance. As a movement practitioner, I've spent years dedicated to exploring my own physicality and embodiment. I've typically approached this through constraint-based learning, as well as guiding others through the same process. Constraint-based learning involves the manipulation of particular organismic, environmental, or task-based constraints to guide the practitioner to discover their own movement solutions and develop adaptive behaviors. This is often undertaken through a process of reciprocal play with others. The effect of such a practice, rooted in ecological dynamics, emphasizes self-exploration and problem-solving rather than direct instruction, allowing the practitioner to become more aware, resilient, and adaptable. By developing our own capacity to engage in the world, we expand the range of actions we have available in any given moment and context. This may look like developing our physical skill sets, building strength, finding balance, expanding mobility, generating agility, or honing our awareness. For anyone who has engaged in such a practice, the felt sense of being grounded or rooted within oneself is unmistakable. And the skill sets we develop are highly transferable to the act of living out our own lives, and in particular, for our purposes, in how we parent. The greater our physical ability and the broader range of options available to us, the more safe and secure we feel in the world. We see our environment as inviting participation as opposed to restrictive. The world becomes more friendly. And this naturally flows into how we're able to hold space for the exploration of our children, allowing us to witness and support them to feel at ease in their own environment through our embodied security. Acceptance of the risk, acceptance of our emotions, acceptance of not knowing the outcome. Physically, this might represent itself as a softening of the musculature of our body, a deepening of the breath, an opening of our posture. This might also be felt internally as releasing the mental fist, letting go of our clutch on circumstance, allowing the processing of our feelings in order that they do not come out sideways through reactive behaviors. Engaging with the world is a balance between taking control and acceptance of what we cannot control. How our child chooses to move, the decisions they make, the risks they take, they're not determined by us. Acceptance of these things does not necessarily mean we allow our child to do whatever they want, as one of our primary roles is to set safe boundaries. But as they press up against these boundaries, as children are designed to do, we would do well to accept both ourselves and them in the process, trusting their innate drives and our own capacity to intervene should it become necessary. By developing both of these capacities, we as fathers essentially become a stable, supporting anchor for our child to develop a relationship between themselves and the world. In general, I see the ultimate goal of any healthy parental relationship to be that of integration, a unification of a self that is adaptable to the moment. This means integration of action, acceptance, integration of structure, freedom, integration of body, mind, integration of masculine, feminine. Our children are inheriting our view of the world, the kinds of places, people, words, actions, and ways of being that are safe and acceptable, and the kinds that are unsafe and unacceptable. We are either helping them form a world of possibility, or we're caging them within a cloak of cotton wool. We are allowing them to express the wildness of themselves, or we're domesticating them. It is my position that we as fathers play a critical role in how this unfolds, either through our presence or our absence. Children with fathers who model environmental competence develop not just safety, but confidence in navigating challenges, internalizing the belief that they can do hard things and handle difficult situations. Children with fathers who model relational competence develop not just security, but emotional intelligence in navigating interpersonal dynamics, internalizing the belief that they can connect meaningfully with others and resolve conflicts constructively. The father who expands his own comfort with uncertainty simultaneously expands the territory in which his child feels safe to venture, creating an ever-widening circle of possibility. So the practice. Start by honestly assessing your comfort with exploration. What are your physical capacities? How well are you able to adapt to your environment? But also, how well do you navigate your own mental and emotional landscapes? What about your relational landscapes? Your unconscious boundaries will become the edges of your child's world too. So it's important that we understand both our own limitations and where we could potentially expand ourselves. If you find yourself physically, mentally, or emotionally restricted, you may consider engaging in some kind of practice that allows you to find greater ease and capacity to explore. There's an infinite spectrum of modalities that will support you in developing the physical qualities you're looking for: strength, mobility, balance, agility. Equally important is learning how to regulate your own emotions and anxieties, discovering how to remain calm and composed when confronted with adversity. Again, there are many modalities that might cultivate these qualities, with my personal bias towards awareness-based practices. Demonstrating to our children that we are willing to confront our own insecurities and develop ourselves to show up for them better in and of itself will set a positive model for their own development. And of course, if you're already the father, then you have an existing demand upon you to engage from exactly where you are at currently. So let's look at how you might securely support your child's exploration. The practice we might employ is what I call strategic non-intervention. Or for a more palatable name, we can simply call it spotting. If you've ever engaged in rock climbing or other exploratory practices like parkour, you may already have a sense of this. In its application, spotting involves being within reach of your child, or to have your hands and body positioned in such a way as to catch them if they stumble or fall. We resist the urge to warn or stop them unless genuinely necessary for safety. The only offer of assistance should come if they become stuck, and even then, the guidance should be just enough for their self-progression. When you feel the impulse to say, "Be careful," replace it with stable presence. Feel the ground beneath you. Intentionally slow your breath. Remain stable with your attention. When I'm at the playground with my son, rather than directing him on how to climb, I allow him to try different approaches, telling him, "My hand is here if you need it." When he hesitates at the top of the slide, instead of telling him, "You'll be fine," I say something like, "I'm right here as you work through this." Now, whether he chooses to go down the slide or not is beside the point. My calm confidence communicates trust more powerfully than any words. So notice when your own insecurity or anxiety constrains your child's exploration. Perhaps you're feeling uncomfortable with their movements, or maybe your discomfort is with the demand for your attention, as you'd much rather be sitting there on that chair, looking at your phone, or doing something productive. In these moments, take a breath to ask, what am I serving right now? Their growth or my comfort? While these physical practices form an essential foundation for secure father attachment, they extend naturally into supporting mental and emotional exploration as well. Just as a father spots his child physically at the playground, he can spot his child during relational, emotional, or intellectual challenges. When a child struggles with a complex problem, for example, schoolwork or social conflict, a secure father might again practice strategic non-intervention. Rather than solving it for them or attempting to minimize discomfort, he might pull his chair beside them and simply say, "This is a tough situation. I'm right here with you." As the child faces cycles of emotion, frustration, determination, and solution, the secure father remains engaged, validating their experience with his desire to sit in it with them. When the child asks if their approach is correct or if their feelings are right, instead of evaluating immediately, he responds, "What do you think or feel? Let's work through this together." This creates space for the child to articulate their feelings and thinking process while knowing their father is fully present but not taking over their challenge. Just as the father at the playground stands ready but not controlling, the emotionally available father creates space for mental challenges while remaining a secure base from which exploration can safely occur. Based on both research and practical experience, I've developed a simple framework that fathers can use to support exploration while maintaining security. For physical or environmental spotting, position: stay close enough to prevent injury, far enough to allow movement. Attention: maintain focused awareness on potential risks. Response: engage only when necessary for safety. Communication: use encouraging language that acknowledges process. Progression: gradually reduce intervention or increase challenge as skill develops. For relational or emotional spotting, position: remain emotionally available without overwhelming or withdrawing. Attention: listen fully, both spoken words and unspoken cues. Response: validate feelings without immediately solving problems. Communication: reflect thoughts and emotions rather than directing or dismissing them. Progression: help identify patterns and build internal resources over time. In both contexts, the father maintains what family therapists call connected autonomy, staying attuned and available while respecting the child's need to develop their own internal resources. A securely attached father offers a form of connection that is distinct yet deeply complementary to maternal attachment. While mothers often anchor a child's sense of safety through comfort and emotional regulation, fathers frequently build security through play, exploration, discipline, and challenge. Together, these create a balance, one parent providing a safe haven, the other a secure base to confidently move away from. When fathers feel their natural styles are dismissed, they may disengage, not from disinterest, but from dissonance. This can weaken not only paternal involvement, but the broader emotional scaffolding children need to develop resilience and autonomy. When fathers are supported to parent in their own authentic way, children gain access to this vital dimension of development. Now, some may worry that emphasizing a father's role in encouraging risk-taking could lead to unsafe parenting. However, the key distinction lies in the secure presence. The father who remains attentive and available while appropriate challenge, rather than either overprotection or neglectful endangerment. Research consistently shows that fathers play a unique and irreplaceable role in children's growth. Studies on paternal involvement link secure father-child attachments to higher emotional regulation, better social competence, and stronger cognitive development. Children with fathers who model environmental and relational competence develop not just security, but confidence in navigating challenges. And further, it literally shapes neural pathways. When fathers create safe opportunities for challenge, they help develop their child's stress response system and executive function capabilities. They internalize the belief that they can handle difficult situations. The father who expands his own comfort with uncertainty simultaneously expands the territory in which his child feels safe to venture, creating an ever-widening circle of possibility. And the father who embraces this understanding transforms not just his relationship with his child, but his entire approach to the world, becoming more present, more expansive, and more securely attached to life itself. Let's return to that earlier scene with the wall. Imagine instead a father sitting nearby, attentive but calm as his daughter approaches the wall, his body language communicating quiet confidence in her abilities. As he moves himself into position alongside her, imagine how differently this child moves. She explores the edges, occasionally looking for reassurance and finding it in her father's steady presence. What might she learn about herself? About her skills, her limits, her ability to wrestle with fear and excitement? What might she discover about the world? About how friendly it is? About what it affords and constrains? About its truth? What I'm proposing in this essay is not just a father's adaptation of traditional attachment theory, but a complementary model that honors the unique contribution fathers make to their children's development. This model recognizes that a father's role isn't secondary to the mother's, but equally essential, offering different yet harmonizing elements that together create conditions for optimal development. By bringing fathers fully into the parenting conversation, we create space for a more nuanced understanding of what children need to thrive. The father who understands his role in attachment creates a legacy that extends far beyond his immediate relationship with his child, contributing to a world where the generations to come might approach both connection and exploration with wholehearted engagement. In a time of increasing uncertainty and fear, we need fathers willing to step up and into this crucial role. We need fathers willing to process their own wounds and do the work in order that their children may have greater freedom. We need men willing to commit themselves in service of raising future leaders. I would argue that humanity depends upon it. If you've been resonating with what I've been sharing through Zen Fatherhood and feel called into this purpose, please leave a comment or message me directly. I'm bringing together a community of like-minded fathers ready to contribute to bringing about a better future for their children. I hope to hear from you, and may the effect of your presence ripple forth to your descendants.